ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at none other than Professor Charles Xavier himself from Xmen First Class. This is made by a company called CGL. I don't have much experience with CGL personally, so honestly I'm kind of going into this review fairly blind. I have no idea what kind of quality release awaits us inside this box. Now I picked up mine from toyswonderland.com, link is down in the description below as it always is for your reference purposes only. Do bear in mind though, if you are picking this up, it is unlicensed. That means the company CGL doesn't hold the intellectual property rights to, well, actually make this thing. So bear in mind, it is unlicensed. Also, if you do like seeing really early Hot Toys and third-party unboxing and review videos, well, you're in the right place. Why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon so you're notified as soon as brand new content goes live on the channel. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. And here of course we have the box art for Charles Xavier himself. Honestly, if you saw this on a shelf in a store, you probably wouldn't be able to tell exactly what this is, other than the X and the subtle image of James McAvoy in the background there. But rest assured, it is actually Professor X. I really do like this proper metal sort of logo on the front here. It is stuck on crooked, but still, it's a nice high quality piece. On the back we do have an image of the figure himself. Fingers crossed the head sculpt does in fact look like this. As I said, I have fairly limited experience with CGL. I've never owned any of their products before, so fingers crossed this is a decent release. You can see a little instruction slip. Looks like the battery goes in the display base. Might light up. That's quite interesting. And here of course we have the figure himself. I have to say, first impressions of the flight suit, aside from of course the foot falling off, it looks pretty punchy and pretty vibrant. And honestly, that head sculpt is not too terribly bad, but more on that a little bit later in the video. I assume that underneath all this foam there will be some accessories, and yes there are, display base and a couple of hands. So what we are going to do now is get all of this stuff, as little as there is in here, laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. And here we have all of the accessories that come with Charles Xavier. Now unfortunately, this is it. He doesn't come with any effect pieces, or even a diorama base, or even a little mini Cerebro helmet. I know, it's not canon for him to be wearing the helmet in this outfit. I still would have liked to have seen them throw it in. Unfortunately, they didn't do it. This is all you get. Let's talk about the display base first. This, honestly, I do think is where most of the budget went for the accessories. It's an all-new display base, and it lights up. Unfortunately, I don't know what kind of batteries they use over in Hong Kong. Maybe this size is more common, but this is not AAA and it's not AA. It's a weird miniature size. I, of course, didn't have any to hand, so I can't show you the light-up effect, but the X will light up on the front there. The interesting thing is the display base arm actually pegs in the back. I've never, ever had one that works this way. It's really interesting. You do, of course, have a regular crotch grabber. I love the fact that it's small and rectangular, and also the light-up effect. I don't really like how thick it is though, it's slightly too chunky, and of course they had to do that to get the light-up working. I will be picking up the Magneto figure that will be coming out hopefully fairly soon, and I'm sure it'll have the same style display base. Now you only get 3 hands, unfortunately. This is of course the power effect using hand. You do have a really nice ribbed sculpt on the back of the glove there, and some detail on the inside, but they're fairly basic. They're literally just regular black gloved hands for your Charles Xavier here. Super simple, super straightforward. What we are going to do now though is get the figure himself out here and take a closer look. And here we have him standing straight up and down the light box. No crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Not that he really comes with any to pose him with anyway, but enough about that. The figure himself actually looks fairly decent. It presents well. I love the vibrancy of the outfit, and I love the detail. There are a bunch of different sections and paddings and bits and pieces all throughout, which you'll see in just a second. I do have a couple of complaints. It's not all sunshine and rainbows here, but overall, for an Xmen First Class Charles Xavier, it kind of is what it needs to be. It's a fairly basic release, because in the film, he wasn't really interacting with all that much. Granted, I still would have loved that Cerebro helmet. We didn't get it. That's totally fine. The detail on the suit, in my opinion, more than makes up for a few accessories. Not all of them, mind you, but a few. What we are going to do now, though, is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. And here we have him up close and personal, and I have to say, initially, when I took this guy out of the box and then looked at him off camera, I was kind of thinking, man, who is that supposed to be? For some reason, the magic was lost and I couldn't see James McAvoy. Now, though, for some reason, having it in hand for a little bit longer, and also seeing it through the lens, I can tell exactly who that's supposed to be. It's grown on me. I'm actually really starting to like the sculpt. I don't know how that has happened. You'll have to let me know what you think of it in the comments below, but from certain angles, like right there, I can really see James McAvoy, and the sculpt and the paintwork is exceptional. My one complaint, however, is the length of the neck. It looks slightly too long. Yes, you can pull up the collar and slightly tilt the head down to hide it just a little bit, but still, it does look a little bit too long and slightly goofy. It is something that you can pose away, but something still to be wary of. Now let's talk about the outfit itself. This thing is a work of art. They've used this proper sort of flight suit style material that's poofy and crunchy, and it looks really, really accurate and faithful to what we see in the film. You can also see some pleather style knee and elbow pads to match, and they look absolutely sensational. So too does this middle section. It's this sort of spongy, squishy style material, has the ports on the front, the harness over the top. This thing is detailed to the nines. It looks like a proper flight suit, just with a little bit of an Xmen flair, and honestly, I really like how it comes across. The harness, of course, extends around the back, the belt does as well, and all of these clips, as far as I can tell, are made of metal, so I don't think they'll be breaking anytime soon. Now, I do have one other complaint, and it's the proportions of the body. His legs look slightly too long, and with the longer neck, it kind of throws off the entire thing. Let me know what you think of it, but I personally think it looks a little bit goofy. Yes, you can pose it away, it's not too much of a big deal, but for me, it just looks a little bit funky if you do have him in a neutral stance. But overall, now that I've come around and I'm really liking that head sculpt, I'm starting to enjoy the figure a little bit more. I love the detail on the outfit, I love the way the sculpt looks, it's just the slightly goofy proportions in the body that's throwing me off. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, I kind of was a bit stuck with who to compare Charles to. I don't have any other X-Men First Class figures, I do have the Apocalypse versions, but I didn't really want him to go in that display. So I ended up with Days of Future Past Wolverine, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do own this release, so it should give you a good idea as to how this Charles scales. You can see he is slightly shorter. Hugh Jackman is a really tall guy. I'm sure this is somewhat accurate, not exactly sure how tall James McAvoy is. No need to let me know down in the comments below. This works perfectly fine for me as a figurative Wolverine standing alongside Charles. I know, in the comics, Wolverine is supposed to be a shorter dude, but in the films, he isn't, so this works nicely for me. But you can see here, standing next to a Hot Toys figure, the body proportions on Charles are just a little bit goofy. The neck is slightly too long, the arms potentially slightly too long, torso too short, and legs are too long. It just looks a little bit out of whack. I know he's wearing a sort of onesie-style flight suit, so it does make him kind of look even more so, but to me personally, I think they could have done slightly better with the look of the body that they chose for this set. Just going over articulation on Charles Xavier. Now bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I'm willing to go. Starting off with the head sculpt, it is on a fixed neck, but that doesn't really hinder your range of motion forward, back, side to side, and swiveling as well. The arms themselves are really nice and stiff. They go out to about there before you start to see a little bit of stretching from the outfit, and the same thing going forward. You have a butterfly joint at the shoulder, which is actually a ratcheted joint. You can see it sort of clicks in place there. A swivel at the upper bicep, a double bend at the elbow, which is incredibly stiff, and of course a regular 1/6 scale joint for the wrist itself. Now, due to all of this stuff on the torso, it's a little bit more restricted, but you get a little bit of crunch, swivel, and pivot side to side. The legs themselves are pretty much the most hindered. They go forward to about there, they go out to about there, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend here at the knee, which is again a ratcheted joint and very sturdy, and finally down at the foot, a regular 1/6 scale ankle peg. Just wrapping up on the CGL Charles Xavier figure from X-Men First Class. I have to say, this release has kind of been a bit of a roller coaster ride for me. I didn't know what to expect going in. I was initially not that impressed with the head sculpt, then I turned around and I thought, hey, you know what, under the right lighting, it doesn't look too bad, and now I've grown to really like it. Granted, some people may still not like it, and that's perfectly fine. We all have our own opinions, you can form yours, but I've started to really like the sculpt. The outfit as well is really nicely done. There are a bunch of different styles of material. There's padded sections, pleather sections, the yellow sort of stretchy spandex looking parts, the harness on top. There is a ton of detail on the outfit. But then again, he doesn't come with a lot of stuff, and the body proportions are a little bit weird, so there are some really, really good things, and also some really, really not that good things. It's going to be entirely up to you whether or not you think this particular figure will do it for you as an X-Men First Class Charles Xavier figure. It's pretty much the only option right now. Who knows, in years to come we may get even more, but for me, personally, I'm really glad I picked him up because this figure looks pretty darn good, especially in the right pose. Now, I picked up mine from Toys Wonderland. Link is in the description below for your reference purposes only. This is a third-party unlicensed product. That means the company who made this doesn't hold the actual rights to create this release. If you are picking it up, do so knowing full well it is unlicensed. Also, while you are down in the description, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.